So today my topic is to explaining about getting started with the Sitecore Experience Edge. So I will touch upon the what is the Sitecore Experience Edge, benefits, and what are the different products are present from the Sitecore who are providing the Sitecore Experience Edge functionality, and what type of Experience Edge APIs are there which we can utilize, and how the data caching is working in the Sitecore Experience Edge, and how we can test the Experience Edge graphical query. So I will be showing some sort of a graphical playground and with the some useful graphical query which can be utilized by a developer in a day-to-day activities. And you can feel free to stop me at any given point of time if you guys are having any sort of queries. So it's a little intro about myself. Myself, Amit Kumar, and I am having around a 18 plus years of IT experience, basically on the Microsoft tech stack, MVC, Classic ASP, C Sharp, and also Sitecore, and some knowledge on the Azure part itself to do the day-to-day activities. And also, I am a 5 times Sitecore MVC and UK MVP, and you can reach out to me via Slack channel or you can directly ping me on the Twitter. Coming to the introduction of this session. So as I explained that I will be sharing a information about the Experience Edge, right? And I will be explaining what type of graphical queries are there and how we can utilize that, what are the API endpoints are there, and what are the ways to utilize Experience Edge in your Sitecore implementation, or you are utilizing a Sitecore as a one content source for all your enterprise organization. So as you seen nowadays that Sitecore is coming up with a different products, right? They have acquired and they have developed some sort of product and they are offering a different functionalities, and every functionality is having a product which can be utilized by. So you are having a choice to pick as per your requirement. Earlier we will be having a Sitecore experience platform which are coming up with the uh, content management system as well as the experience platform, and some of the organization or most of the organization was not utilizing the experience platform extensively, and they were paying the cost of a license also extra cost, right? And basically they were be utilizing only the XM only. So in those cases, when you are moving or you are doing the digital transformation or you are running any greenfield project, so you need to be go through your requirement and identify that it's better to go with the composable project products, or you need to go with the full-fledged Sitecore experience platform. So nowadays most of the organization are going via XM, and on the need basis they are picking up a different API and microservices based product and they are building their application. So in the right hand side you are seeing that Sitecore is having a solutions, right, related to the commerce, CDP, DAM, search, and the marketing automation and personalization. And in the right hand side, you are seeing the product which are providing these functionality. And generally, these are the typical requirement, or you can say that the functionalities most of the applications is having. So on our need basis, we can pick and choose any of the product to implement a composable digital experience platform. So in the same line, Sitecore Experience Edge is also one of the composable products. It's not a hard and fast tool that you, if you are on the XM, you have to buy it. It's on the need basis and the requirement basis. Any project can use the Experience Edge, that is a SaaS offering from the Sitecore. So if you are seeing in this simple diagram, right? So you are having a composable in the center and all the functionality or the modules required by the application can be fulfilled by the Sitecore itself. In simpler term, this Sitecore Experience Edge is a scalable SaaS API. Why it's SaaS? Because the organization is not maintaining this, it's maintained by the Sitecore. and it's on the cloud. And also on the front of these SaaS API, there is a Cloudflare WAF is there that is taking care of the all the throttling or the caching type of things. And also this Sitecore Experience Edge API endpoint or a offering from the Sitecore is providing you a cached item layout, data model, and a media. It means that you will be getting a cached data or a static data. There will be no dynamic thing will be there. And instead of a publishing to a CD, you will be publishing to a Experience Edge. So there are a some sort of a connector you need to install, and with the help of that, you can publish your content to the Sitecore Experience Edge instead of a WebDB. So let's dive into this diagram. So which is a high level view of the Sitecore Experience Edge. So these are the product like a Sitecore Content Hub 1, Content Hub, and XM Cloud and Experience Manager. So these are the product, right, which you generally utilize to do the content authoring. So generally in the typical content management system, content author will be doing the content authoring or curating the content, and you will be publishing it. So in the normal scenario, you are having a master database and from there it will be publishing to a WebDB. But here you will be using the Sitecore Experience Edge connector and which will be publishing your content items, layout snapshot and the media items, right? And those are the geographical distributed regions from where you will be accessing your data. So it's not like that you will be having a single data center from there the content will be served. It's a, you can say that a CDN which will be globally distributed, and on the basis of a user region it will be serving the content. And also the main thing here is you need to consider that it's a snapshot of your layout data, right? So it means that once you are publishing it, whatever the controls or the things you have added into your presentation layer or your page items, those will be typically dumped here and it will be delivered to you via a GraphQL queries. So there will be no layout services will be there. They are the GraphQL endpoints, which are the tightly coupled. You can say that the type safe API endpoints, and all the data will be a cached one. So in the right hand side, you can make any type of any sort of a product like a application like IoT devices or a social media application or a mobile app, and there you will be making a call to the GraphQL API and you will be getting a data in the form of a JSON, right? And if you will try to access a media item or anything, those also will be served from the CDN. So in those cases, you can save a cost in terms of the CDN. So you do not need to expose a another layer of a CDN in your application, right? While getting a data, but you need to place a CDN in terms of where you are hosting your application. Any question till this slide?
No, we know.
Okay, thanks. So as I said earlier that if you are using the Experience Edge, then the Experience Edge will replace your content delivery. So you are saving the cost in terms of a hosting also because you do not need to provision a CDN, CDs boxes. So you are saving a cost there also. And now coming to the benefit of Experience Edge. So benefit of Experience Edge is that you do not need to maintain a CD and you can build a Jamstack based architecture in your application because you do not need to maintain a API layer separately. You can directly use the Edge API endpoints, which are a globally distributed API endpoints, and that will provide you the scalability and maintainability will be taken care by the Sitecore and reliability will be there because there is no a single point of failure because it's a globally distributed, right? And as I said that the data which is coming via a Sitecore Experience Edge, all data has been cached, right? So you will be getting a faster content delivery. And there will be some limitation also are there, like there will be no personalization because the data is static because every data which is served from the CDN that is static. So there will be no user interaction on data because data already saved. there, right? In terms of a blob storage or anything. And also GraphQL content API, you will be getting a required data. You will be not getting unnecessary data, so that you can build a scalable architecture in your Sitecore implementation, as well as you can build a application using a SSG, like a static site generation, if you want to have a more performance oriented application. And also these are the product like a Sitecore Experience Edge for Content Hub and Experience Manager, Content M1. All these products are providing a Experience Edge functionality. So you can build any sort of application which is needed a data in terms of a API endpoints. So as I already said that you can uh, build a faster application or a performance oriented application. You can decrease the architectural complexity because you are not going to maintain a CD nodes, right? You are consuming a data directly from the API endpoints, which is not managed by your organization or your team. So those things are decreasing the architectural complexity because you do not need to rely or build a disaster recovery or those things. So you are saving the time and effort there. If anything is there, then some limitations is also there. So one limitation I told that you cannot have a uh, personalized content, and apart from that, the schema cannot be extended because it's a type safe. You cannot add a fields or anything, right? And also standard fields will be not coming up, but there are some tweaks you need to do that in terms of your content resolver or something. You can get a data, but you cannot extend the schema, and you cannot enforce any security constant because some of the enterprise level application is having a security restriction or authorization in terms of a content tree item. Like I am logging as a Amit, I can see a about us page, but I cannot see a contact us page, right? But in typical MVC application, what you can do that you can make a call to the backend from your code and you can check that this user is having access or not. But here you are not deploying the application within a Sitecore, right? Because you are implementing ahead in any of other tech stack. So in those cases, you cannot implement a security constant and you need to find a alternate way to implement a security things in the head application. Like you can have a, some sort of a group there, like which you are getting from your third party IAM system, and you can check in a data if user belongs to these group, then show this. So those type of logic you need to implement in a head section, head application, not in the side code. And also the maximum size of media item is a 50 MB. You cannot store a media item in Experience Edge which is a more than 50 MB. And also there will be no customization on a search index schema because there is a you will be not having access to the Solar because you are getting a data from the Experience Edge, and behind the scene data to the Experience Edge is coming from the Solar indexer. But those are not maintained by you or your organization or your team. It's maintained by the service provider. And also you will be not getting a web database, right? So you cannot do any manipulation on that. And also the the main factor is that if you are using the Experience Edge for the content delivery, then there is a limited scope of a search functionality. Means the GraphQL Edge point provide you a simple search related data, or you can build a simple search pages, but you cannot build a extensive search page where you are having a different type of facets and all the dynamic thing. You cannot do that. If you have to do that, then you need to rely on a third party search provider like a Coveo, Search Stack, Sitecore Search, or you need to provision your own Solar box, and with the help of a webhooks, when you are publishing a data to the experience side, during that time you need to publish a schema of a data to the your search provider. So those are the things you need to do when you are moving to the Experience Edge. So while you are proposing or using the Sitecore Experience Edge, you need to consider this limitation also. And coming to the other thing is that there is also a limit on a number of Experience Edge calls per hour or per minute is there. So 80 API calls requests per second limit is there. So if you are having a site where you are sending a data on the basis of a different type of request parameters, right? So in those cases, you maybe consume your this API limit very fast, right? So in those cases, you need to have some sort of a fallback mechanism in your in your head application, which will show some sort of a dummy data or something so that user will be not seeing a 500 error or something like that. So that is also one of the limitations. So if you will see here, there is a CF cache status is there, right? So dynamic means that you are directly getting a data from a cloud from a experience edge, not from the cache. So any data which is coming from the cache that is not counted in this API calls limit. So if you will see that if you are sending a one request where you are searching a keyword like a ABC and again you are sending a same route or request, right? And if it is a second time, then it will be served from the uh, this from the cache. So in those cases, that CF is means that a Cloudflare. So status Cloudflare cache status is equal to hit. Hit means that it's coming from the cache, right? And also if you will see that X rate limit is there, right? And also X rate limit remaining. So if you are sending a new request, then this limit parameter or header will be decreased. And if you are directly accessing a media item also there also this will be coming, right? And also if it is served from the you can say that a cache, then it will be showing hit. If it is not from the cache, then it will show a miss. And in as I said that if you are implementing or using the experience edge in your application, so you need to have some sort of mechanism in your head application or some sort of a proxy layer which will give you a or taking care of these type of things, because in your component you are not going to implement these things. You should have a one centralized location which will be taking care of these type of a parameters or a validation. And also if you are using the authoring API of a GraphQL, right, which is generally pointing to the Sitecore CMS host rather than a edge.this, but internally it's a making it will get a response from the edge API. So if you are using the authoring API also, then also you are consuming the your limit, right? But if you are using the preview endpoints, in those cases, it is not being served from the edge API endpoint, it's served from the CMS itself. So you need to also consider that if you are having a like Azure function or you have written some utility or a batch job, which will be sending a data from some application to your site code, and you thought that you will be not having your batch job or anything site code jobs in the site code, and you will be utilizing authoring API to submitting a data. So in those cases, you also need to take care of your API limit. Any questions till this point? Or shall I move to the?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
What could be the best way to avoid this situation for the limitation? So, like, make the model big, or it's like, because from the site for the rendered layout, it definitely would be render all the fields which we needed to display on the page.
Yeah, so what happened that if you have checked the GraphQL, because you are making a call to a specific route, right? Or a page like
Yeah.
home, about us, those things, right? And you need to avoid by passing a query string parameter. So you first of all, you do not need to append a query string parameter also, right? Why? Because if you are doing that and you are implementing a some sort of a query parameter or a manipulation, so in those cases, if you will change the query parameter, then it will be treated as a fresh request, right? It's a new
Okay.
request, right? That is a one thing. Other thing is that uh, in your application, if you are making a call, right? So because I am not a front end expert, but I have seen the implementation where what people are doing it, they are not directly making a call to the Edge API or anything, right? So what they are doing it, they are doing is some sort of a manipulation in a middle layer where they are taking care of these limits. So they are storing these limits in a server side, right? Where it can be available throughout the application in a Node.js server, right? Where your application is deployed. Suppose if they are going to reach that limit, right? So they are having a some sort of a dummy data in the form of a JSON, right? And they are using those default properties of a component, because in component when you are building, so there is a option is called a properties dot default properties is there. So if anyhow your GraphQL endpoints are down or something, right? And you are sending a null or some sort of a things to your application, right? Or your component. So in those cases, those default properties you can utilize to render it. So those mechanism needs to be implemented.
Okay. Because I saw one application where we did not use the Node.js as a server-side rendering, and most of all the work was handled on the front-end application. It's
Client side,
completely,
right?
yeah,
So
client
yes.
side.
So one more thing is there that why people are using the SSG, because they need to implement the static sites for the performance, right? So
Yeah,
in those cases, everything needs to be handled at a client side where the application is running, right? So they cannot do that in the server side, because you can make a some pages or some routes as a SSR, but you cannot have a in a one page you cannot mix and match, right? um, SSG and SSR. So that is a limitation, so that's why people are handling those things in the in the front end itself, like a SSG at SSG only, not as SSR. But if it is a front end, people can easily tackle these things, because this is not with the site core. If there are and many third party, you can say that a APIs or a service providers are there, they are having a limitation and at their API end in a specific time period, right? So people are in our end, if we will be having it, we can use a singleton object and where we can store, right, to manipulate.
yeah,
So same
yeah.
way, there is a mechanism is present in the front end framework also to cache, or you can say that the cache these things.
Yeah, they do the local browser cache they maintain for that.
Yes,
Locally,
yes,
they create the data,
yes, yes.
local data storage.
Yeah, local storage which will be storing in the browser storage.
Yeah.
So coming to the next section is the Sitecore Experience Edge availability. So Sitecore Experience Edge is available with these four products like Experience Manager, XM Cloud, Content Hub, and Content Hub 1. And types of a Sitecore Experience Edge API. One is the preview API, which is utilized by your CM, and the delivery API when you are moving to your prod environment or from where the data will be delivered to the your front end application is a delivery API. So both are the GraphQL Edge GraphQL endpoints. And one thing you need to consider that from Sitecore 10 onwards, in whenever you are installing the Sitecore in your local or any environment, you will be not having the uh, legacy GraphQL endpoints. It by default it will enable the Sitecore GraphQL Edge endpoints, and both are having a different schema and a different syntax. So if you are having any application which is in Sitecore 9 and you are planning to move to Sitecore 10, right? So in those cases, and you are planning to move to Experience Edge, then you need to change your queries, because your queries will not work in the Experience Edge, both because both are having a different schema. So this is a simple flow diagram which is explaining that if you are on the content management, then the preview endpoint is being used and the front end will consume the data from there. So if you are on the lower environment, right, so you are also implementing the uh, preview endpoints for your front end application. So there also you can utilize the preview endpoints and people can use the authoring there also. For example, if you are using the Next.js, right? So in those cases, you will be not deploying your Next.js dist into a Sitecore CMS. So you will be having a editing rendering host or you are having a rendering host. So that can also be consuming a data from a preview endpoints. And in the higher environment, you will be using the Experience Edge because you need to give the published data or a approved data to the end user. So you will be utilizing a Experience Edge endpoints or a delivery endpoints directly. And as I explained earlier that in the delivery API, you are doing the content management in the CMS, you are publishing it, then there will be a connector is there, which will publish the data to the Sitecore Experience Edge. And there also the graphical server is there because if you are using the GraphQL in your local environment, so there is a GraphQL server will be running in your Sitecore instance, which is giving you the data via a GraphQL endpoint, right? And then on top of that, there will be a CDN which will be caching a data, and you will be having exposed the data via a GraphQL API endpoint, and you will be getting the layout data, cache layout data, or a snapshot of a layout data, and you can consume that into your website. And for example, why I have added this slide here is that suppose you are having MVC application, right? Legacy MVC application. Now your organization or the client doing the digital transformation and they decided that they are planning to move to the headless, right? So you cannot move or a lift and shift your MVC to the headless, right? So it's required some sort of a planning and also a analysis or a discovery phase where you will be identifying what will be the MVP and what are the important modules or pages which will needs to be moved. Because if you are planning to move a complete website in a one shot, then it can take a time, right? So in those cases, you need to give the cost for both your XP as well as you need to pay for the XM Cloud itself, right? So in those cases, what you can do that if you are having a XP or you are having a XM, right? So you can utilize the XM1 topology, which there also the CD will be coming, right? And CD is also having the experience edge endpoint similar to the this your CM. I'm not talking about experience edge SaaS API endpoints, graphical API endpoints. I'm talking about when you are provisioning a normal MVC also environment, there also the edge graphical endpoints is enabled by default, right? So the same thing you can utilize in your CD box itself, and you can consume that also to build a application. So in those cases, you can save a cost. You do not need to maintain a both the environment. You can do all the development in your existing infrastructure itself, right? But you need to maintain a separate rendering host to verify the things by a business user or the stakeholders. So in those cases, you can save the cost, right? So that is another way if you are planning to do a migration from a legacy MVC to the headless. So now coming to the another section is the data caching at a Sitecore Experience Edge. So as I said that it is a SaaS offering, right? And the data will be served from the CDN where the data have been cached and it will be delivered and there will be a Cloudflare in front of that which will be taking care of all the things and the CDN is there. So all things will be cached whichever the data is being sent to the user who are requesting the data. And also what you can do that if you are building a complete Jamstack based application, then you can utilize a Vercel also, right? Which is also providing you the data caching of your HTML pages. So with the help of that, by using the Sitecore Experience Edge and the combination of a Vercel, you can improve the your page performance, because you are getting the data which is cached, and also that data is being used by the static HTML, right? So whatever the at a build time you have generated the static pages, that also will be served from the Vercel, which is cached. So in those cases, you will be getting a faster response of your data, and also the content from the Experience Edge will be delivered to you via CDN. So the at the time of a build, and you can decrease the build time also, because you do not need to make a dynamic call. It will be cached data and it will be served to you. So with that, the you can get a faster performance from the Sitecore Experience Edge. And also whenever you are publishing any data to the Experience Edge, so all the data which are cached, that will be invalidated, and the data will be flushed from the cache. So now the if any user is sending a new request, then it will be serving the new data. Whatever the data is being updated, that will be a flushed, and the new data will be coming when the user will make a request. And also in your Next.js application, you can have a ISR based functionality also, which will invalidate the data. So there are many ways you can do in your front end application. Also, you can manage these things to get a fresh data while you are building the SSG. Any question till this point?
No.
So now coming to the Sitecore Experience Edge GraphQL queries. So as I said that you will be having a preview API, then you will be having a preview ID, integrated development environment, where you can verify your Edge GraphQL queries, and also you will be having a Edge delivery ID, where you can verify your delivery endpoints GraphQL query. So to access the preview ID, you will be having your CMS host address, which is having a Sitecore API Graph Edge UI. So in legacy GraphQL, this edge endpoints were not there. So that's why by default only this is enabled, and the legacy GraphQL endpoints are disabled. But you can also enable both the endpoints in your Sitecore CMS instance. And there is a API endpoint is also there, which is being utilized in the uh, preview ID. And the same way delivery also having the ID URL. So when you are provisioning your Sitecore Experience Edge sandbox or getting a endpoints URL, so you will be receiving your delivery ID URL, as well as delivery ID delivery API URL, as well as you will be getting a API key, which you can use in your front end application to make a query. So now I will be moving to the application, right, where I will be showing you how we can test the Experience Edge GraphQL queries. So here I am utilizing this play submit demo, which is having a already having a content tree, and then I will be showing some queries which you can utilize in your application, or you are wanted to learn, then you can go through. I will share the link where these queries are there. So I will be starting with the small queries, and then I will be showing how we can make more user friendly these queries, so that it will be easy to understand what type of data you are trying to access. So this is my content tree, which is having home and sessions, speakers. These are the different type of pages are there. So as I was explaining about a preview ID, it's a Sitecore, your host address, Sitecore API Graph Edge UI, and this is your preview API endpoints. So now let's start with the simple query, where I am just trying to access a simple one of the context item or a home item, which I need to see what type of data is present in this. So While using the ID, and these are the query variables. Query variables means that you will be getting a this context item if you are building into your component. So there are two ways you can utilize the graphical query in your application. One is that if you are having the JSON rendering, you can embed those JSON queries, your graphical query into that, and you can pass the context item you will be getting, and you will be getting a data source item also. Other way is that if you are not using the rendering to return you a data via GraphQL endpoints, you can also use your client side scripting to make a direct call to the GraphQL endpoints to get a data. So in those cases, you will be writing a code in your React.js, Next.js, or AngularJS, and on the basis of your requirement, you will be passing a data. So in this, what I am trying to do that I am passing a context item like a home page, and I am just trying to access the home page path. And with the help of that, I am trying to get the ID and the name. Here also, I am passing the language as a hard-coded parameter. So in those cases, it will simply return me the um, return me the response like I am trying to access the ID and the name. So I will be getting it. And also you can give a alias to this also. Like if you are writing a queries, then you can give a user-friendly name to this query endpoints. And on the basis of that, you will be getting a data in your JSON response. So now coming to the next query. So here I am trying to get a giving alias to the ID itself. So you can give a uh, aliasing to your main item also or a object also, and you can give an individual field also. So suppose you need to get a data and you need to give a friendly name to that. So you can utilize these type of small things to make it easily readable queries. And other queries that here I am trying to pass a context item as a parameter and also as a language. So what I will be doing it, I will be passing a both the parameter to this query. And also what I will do, I will try to get a values from the speaker item. What it will do, it will list down all the fields which are present on your item. So why this things is important? Because if you are building a component in your Next.js, so you will be not knowing it, what would be the exact name of your uh, fields which you need to consume in your Next.js application. So with the help of that, you will be getting a exact name which you need to utilize it like a job title company in your code like a prop dot description, prop dot location. So with the help of this, you can get a complete list of fields which are attached with your item which you are trying to access it. And also you can get a child also of any. So for example, if you are going to implement as a listing component where you need to get a data from a one or two places, or you need to get a data from a current context item or a data source item, right? So in those cases also you can utilize this. So it will be giving you a all the child elements of a home node. So here you need to think through that if you are getting a more than one record, then always you will be getting a as a item search result. So that will be a array type of things, and inside that you can whatever the variables or the fields you need to access is you can give a name to that. And also you can give a filter also, like I need to get a data only from the data from the items which are created with these. So you can give a comma separated template IDs also without the dashes, right? So that also can be implemented. Suppose you are implementing a related content type of things, right? So in those cases also, if you are having a list of the items in somewhere in your content tree, you can combine those things, and also you can return that also by putting a template ID as a where clause. So it will only return you the web page or any site of article page. So those also can be do that. And then also you are seeing that I have put as a web page. So web page, why the GraphQL is very this very important, like, or useful, because you will be getting a type safe data. If you are knowing the template name, then you can use the on operator and give the name of your web page, sorry, template, and you get a feeds name, whatever the feeds names you have defined in the site code. So you can get a type safe data. Now there is a yes. So in most of the application we are using the multi-list, right? So like suppose if you are having a session, and if you are having you are speaker, right? So you are giving us these many sessions. So this is a multi-list field, right? So one user is giving a speaker is giving a session on these many type of sessions it's giving. So if you are trying to make a simple query to get a session and a value, so you will be getting a GUID which is separated by a delimiter, right? Pipe delimiter. So in those cases, and also this data is coming from the Solar. So if you will check the Solar also, so there also you will be seeing that it is a pipe delimiter is used to separate it. But if you need to get a actual session values, so what you can do that the GraphQL is also providing you a target item type of things, right? So which you can utilize to get a data from a specific item itself, which was earlier comma separated, delimiter separated. So here what I did that I am trying to get a sessions, all the sessions, and I gave it as a name as a session list, and I am targeting at that item, and I know that it's of type a session. So I'm trying to get a session ID and everything from that specific item. Like these are the sessions which are present inside this. So I'm trying to get all the value. So you can get all the data in a single query itself. So you do not need to make a multiple calls. And you can give a alias also to those things. Now one other important thing is that so if you are having a big queries, right, where like this only, where you are making a sessions and the speaker details from a target list, right, and you want to utilize that. So in those cases you can create a fragment is a reusable type of functions, you can say that in a simple word, where you are defining which type of a data you wanted to access, and those fragments you can utilize in your main query. So here if you will see in sessions I am using the fragment called a sessions. In sessions, I am using the fragment called a rooms. So what I am trying to do for a speaker, I am trying to get a list of the session, and those sessions will be performed in which rooms. I am getting all the data in a single. So I have created a fragment so that I can reuse in a my query. So while you are putting this query into your component, you need to copy complete thing so that you this will be running in a combined manner in your GraphQL server. So now I will be moving to the search query, because this is a very important thing, because most of the application are also implementing the related content and those type of things with the search queries also as a dynamic thing. So here I am just trying to make a simple query. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to add a filter on a path. I am giving a value and I need to get a data where this path present, right? And also I am giving that I need to get a first hand record. So I will be getting a all the data which is present for a wherever this path is present. So this is the simplest query. So in earlier, the way to construct the search query was different with this. If you will see the old GraphQL queries, so there you will find that the way of notation here is a different. So this schema is different. And here also you will be getting a total number of records. So these parameters are useful when you are trying to implement a pagination in your application. So let's move to the directly on the query where I have implemented the pagination. So here you are seeing that I have given a page size as a 30. So and total record is 19. So I will be getting all the 19 records in a one shot. So let's decrease this to a 10 and then make a call. So what happened that I will be sending a page size from my front end as a 10 and I am passing this dynamic parameter which is entered by the user in the search text box along with my hard coded or a configured these parameters. So here I am seeing that total number of record is 19 and I am passing a page size of a 10, right? And also this has next is true. It means I am having a more record in my system. So when you are implementing a search page or a pagination, so you can always look into this has next. With the help of that, you need to disable the previous next button, and also you need to divide this total with your page size and you can come up with the page numbers, right? Now it is showing as a has next as a true and I will copy this end cursor parameter. And currently if you are seeing I am not passing the value after parameter in a first call. And this value after parameter is being used here in a after, right? So what happened that 1 to 10 is already I have taken. Now I am passing a cursor to start with the 11th record and get me another 10 record. So if I will make a call to this one, so I am getting another 9 record. But here if you will see that has next become a false. It means there is a no record in the system which is matching this such criteria. If you will try to use again this and cursor in your query and you will be getting a null result because there is no record. So with the help of these things, you can implement a pagination also. So these has next can be used to disable the next button and enable the previous button, and you can render the number of pages with the help of a this uh, total number of records. So here if you will see that I am also passing a order by and those things. So here only the simple order by on a string can I have verified, but I haven't verified the number. But the complex date and those things will not work here. Only string based order by clause is working here, not based on the date fields if you wanted to implement. So that's why, as I earlier said, that you can implement a simple search pages with a simple facets or a filter, but you cannot implement a complex. So here, if you will see the query, I have also given a path from where the data needs to be accessed and also path from which I don't want a data. So you can use the n contains. If any path like I don't want a data from a my data folder, so I can mention those uh, IDs, GUID of that item here. So you will be not getting a data which are present in a data folder. And also whatever the templates you want don't want in your result, you can put in a place in your end clause in the language. And in the or, if you are having a n number of fields where you want to implement, for example, if you are having a article page, in a article page you need to make a search on the article title, article description, but not on the date. So you can mention all the fields from a different template fields. You can mention it here, so it will not give a error if that particular field is present in a uh, suppose a event, right? So it is not giving error. You do not need to consider or think that I need to get a article data, event data, but article title is not present in a event template. It will give me error. It's not like that. You will be getting a data whichever is matched. So you can mention all your fields in this or clause to implement a full-fledged search in this with the limited filter functionality. So there are many queries which I have already published to my one of the blogs. So I will share that also and the data right related to that. And also the older also I am having a published article on the GraphQL and legacy GraphQL schema. So those you can go through, and with the help of that you can start implementing a experience edge into your application, right? So it's a very good thing that if you are building any application, so you need to make your application XM Cloud compliant. So you will start with a GraphQL API endpoint, not with the REST API. Otherwise, you need to look into a some code changes or anything while you are moving to the XM Cloud. So with this, I have done and cover all the things from today's session. So I am open for the queries if any from anyone.